Thanks for joining our session. Raise your hand if this is your first time at the Databricks Summit. Congratulations. It was our first time last year, too. My name's Heather Cooley. I lead the Supply Chain Advanced Analytics and Data Science function at Conagra Brands. And last year, we came to the summit for the first time. And we challenged ourselves, our Databricks partners challenged us to potentially be up here the next year. And so it's really a celebration of our journey this year. We have many of our team members in the audience today, our Databricks partners. It's really a community of practice, and it takes a village sometimes. So we're here to talk about our story over the last 2 years. So thanks for joining us. So first, we'll start with a little bit about Conagra Brands. Conagra Brands is a big place. We've got over 18,000 employees. We're headquartered in Chicago. We also have a large campus in Omaha, Nebraska. Our revenue was $12.1 billion for fiscal 2024. We have 42 plants spread across the US, Mexico, and Canada. And you see a number of our iconic brands on the screen here. I'm sure many of you are familiar with them. Our supply chain, at a glance, has over 15,000 supply chain employees, and we support 5,000 products. Our 42 plants and 25 distribution centers support 80% of our volume, and our top 18 customers support 80% of our shipments. Integrated technology plays a critical role for us in enhancing our supply chain strategy. So we think of this in a 3-layered approach: orchestration, intelligence, and data layers. Through data analytics, automation, and orchestration, we're improving our exception-based monitoring, our simulation capabilities, decision-making, and operational efficiency across our supply chain. So we've got major components of our tech stack listed here. Of course, there's many different parts of our tooling, but these are some of the major ones. So we've got Blue Yonder, SAP, Oracle Transportation Management, Power BI, and of course, Databricks and Azure. Like many CPG companies, we've been going through a planning transformation. So this has 3 key areas to it. It's demand planning, supply planning, and long-range capacity planning. So we leverage advanced technologies such as machine learning. We're trying to enhance our revenue while reducing our costs and improving our working capital and inventory levels. So our expected outcomes included improved service recovery and reduced stock holding costs. So this reflects our strategic approach to optimizing our supply chain. So we're trying to drive better financial performance, but also being sure that we're still meeting our customer satisfaction and waste reduction goals. So as part of Conagra's transformation, in 2022, the end of 2022, a new team was stood up, and that's our team, the Supply Chain Advanced Analytics and Data Science team. So we refer to ourselves as the SCANS team, and we have 7 core components of our strategy. So each one are very important, enabling our supply chain strategy. But also, most important here is a culture of inclusivity and teamwork. Conagra's a big place. It has a lot of complexity. And so we're really trying to have very intentional, inclusive behaviors and a one team, one dream mentality. So in our strategy, we emphasize value engineering, so a very close tie to our supply chain strategy. So we're always immediately focused on value, making sure that we are part of every strategic initiative that the company has in partnership with our supply chain leadership team and Conagra's overall executive team. So when we do this, we're also focused on modernization, viewing governance as enablement, and then really having digital and data literacy for the team members that we are building lovable products for, so that we can make their lives easier in the achievement of those goals. So this continuous improvement approach to everything is really a comprehensive approach to maturing our supply chain, knowing that it doesn't happen to go from 0 to 100 overnight, but we're really thinking very intentionally about each one of these 7 components, and leaning on others across the organization to partner as we transform our supply chain. So another way to think about this is really, what do we need? What are all the components we need on our team? So we start with a good data foundation, right? We've got to have a good modern data foundation with a small team and with a lot of data assets. We got to build things with a product mindset so that we can scale and scale in a way that we're maximizing our ROI. So like any good house, it starts with a robust data foundation. Then we also have some traditional BI and data science capabilities. We are fostering digital and data literacy. And ultimately, the pinnacle of that in the blue triangle is that decision intelligence that we're all after. On the right, the green circular diagram represents the ongoing cycle of data literacy and analytics. So we're highlighting here the importance of governance and security in treating data as a corporate asset. And then we have really that culture of continuous learning and innovation with a hefty vision statement. Really what we're trying to do is keep our end consumers in mind, right? Humans first, understanding how we build something that's going to be relevant to each user and the achievement of our goals. So we have a small team. We really started with 4 people, 4 headcount when we first started, and that was early 2023. We've been growing our team. We have a mix of internal employees and consultants. But like anything else, we're not going to get an unlimited amount of resources on the team. So everything that we do embraces an agile and a product mindset. So here, data is at the center of that. And so as we think about this, it's people, process, technology with data at the center. We do have key factors that we mentioned before, that leadership vision, aligning with our supply chain strategy, keeping our stakeholders in mind, having that continuous, collaborative, communicative environment where everybody has a seat at the table. With this, we also know that sometimes we're going to fail, right? So let's fail quickly. And as we go from, starting with a skateboard and the wheel falls off, right? Okay, let's fix that, start again, pivot where we need to, but really kind of mature this journey together. So we view our capabilities as products. So that product mindset can sometimes mean different things to people, but really talking about how do we do something in a way with a product mindset. We're not restarting every time. We're maximizing the ROI. We're understanding the feedback loop from everybody, and we're building more features into everything as we go. So here's the journey, how we think about it. So again, what's most important here is that inclusive behaviors, the one team, one dream mentality. We are a tech team within a business function, so that requires us to think of different things, maybe that are in a highly matrixed environment that aren't always on our team. So it's partnership with others in technology functions, it's partnership with our other analytics partners across the company. And as we think about this, there's a 5-stage of a maturity scale, right? So it starts with organizing, strategizing, standardizing, succeeding, and ultimately transforming. But whoever we are engaged with on a project, we are meeting them where they are at in their journey, and then we mature together. So we think of 4 layers to this. There's data, there's user experience, there's user adoption, and then there's analytics. So our mission is to build lovable things for everybody. So if there's a product that we're building that people aren't using, that's okay, right? Let's talk about it. Let's have an open dialogue about that, how we can mature that together. And then making sure that not only is everything lovable, but it's also accessible, right? So colors and format, the way that we're reaching each of our stakeholder matters in the eyes that's important to them. We also have a user adoption component that we think about here. So really, just like any product, we want people to be promoting our product. It should be so great that it's not just something that's being done to you, but it's something that you actually want to use. It's something that you're adopting, and then you would even take it a next step to promote that with the rest of the stakeholders. And then analytics, analytics means a lot of different things, a lot of different terms over the years, right? So if we talk about going from left to right, the pinnacle of that is always that autonomous AI, but not everything is like that, right? There'll still be a need for some traditional BI in our journey. And so we meet everybody where they're at. When we talk about what the product is, or what the project is or initiative, where are we starting? How do we think about what's the next layer to that? And in our product mindset, keep planting the seeds, keep talking to everybody about how we can mature that together. And some people will automatically be focused way on the right, like early adopters, people that are trying to do this on their own, or maybe they read something or it's an interest for them. Sometimes it's a tool that does this. But really understanding this framework in those different 4 layers, and then in that maturity scale is assessing where is each one, What are all the stakeholders in there? What are the levers that we need to press to do this at scale as an organization? So I'm going to pass it over to Adrian, who leads our data science function. He's going to talk about our Databricks journey. So I want to thank you all for coming today. We're celebrating as a team being here. The journey is not an easy one, but having a community of practice like this, these are our data people together. We learn from you. Please feel free to connect with us, ask us questions, and hope you can celebrate with your own teams next year. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Heather. As Heather mentioned, we've really been on a journey, right? So I want to take some time and talk a little bit more about exactly, what we've been doing on that journey, and, how we're using the Databricks platform. So basically, when you look at how we're actually using Databricks, we're doing 3 things. So the first thing that I really want to highlight is we're building data products, right? Databricks is a great platform to do data engineering. We're building these data products, and we're building them with the intent to reuse them. So a lot of our requests right now today are to build traditional BI reports. So we use Power BI. Typically, a lot of our requests will be, hey, go build me a Power BI report. So we're going out, we're doing the data engineering, work to create that data product. We're doing that on the, on platform. But then we really want to, be able to reuse that. So we have also started to leverage the Databricks Genie room. So we're talking about AI BI today, right? The Genie is a great example of that. We're taking those same exact data products that run our Power BI reports, and we're actually able to mount the Genie on top of those same products, right? There are also machine learning use cases, right? So we can really do a lot with this data. It really starts with the building the data product. And so that's what we've been really heavily focused on at Conagra over the past 2 or so years, since I've been with the company, since we've started our function. But now we're really starting to see the opportunity to reuse some of those to do some more advanced things, which is really cool. So like I said, the Genie is a super cool feature that we want to talk about today. A lot of our users, when we show it to them, it really resonates, especially a lot of our leaders in supply chain. They really love the idea of being able to chat with their data. So we have several, large language model enabled tools at Conagra. The Genie is one of them. And so we have found, for our use cases, the Genie has some really cool features that we think are a really good fit that make it a really compelling tool. So we want to talk a little bit about that. So it all, again, starts with a data product, right? A lot of our projects start as a simple Power BI report. And now we're saying, okay, let's let a user chat with their data. So what does that mean? What does that take to get there? So again, we're starting with the same base data product that we developed in Databricks, and we're putting the Genie on top of that. So one of the really cool features, you can tell the Genie exactly which data it is allowed to look at, right? So in scope exactly what the Genie has to work with. From there, you create instructions, right? So instructions guide the Genie. That could be anything from simple business context, right? So YL in our case means yield loss, right? That's something that I would instruct the Genie on so that it knows how to respond to that question if a user simply enters, the term YL, right, instead of yield loss. So you're developing instructions. That guides the Genie. The next thing that you're going to do is you want to develop benchmarks. So the Genie is a large language model, right? It's driven by an LLM. It can drift over time. So how do you control that? You use benchmarks. right, in Databricks. So you're going through and you're picking out what are my core representative questions that I need to make sure that the Genie gets right consistently and ensure that it's not going to drift. So remember those two things, right? Instructions and benchmarks. We'll talk about those a little bit more here in a second. So why do we do the Genie? So this is really, the user's lens, right? If I'm clicking through this example dashboard that I have up here on the screen, it may take me 4 to 5 clicks, right, to navigate all the way through a traditional dashboard to get to my answer. So in this case, you see you're selecting a plant, you're selecting a time frame, right? You've got to, pivot the dashboard to make sure that you're looking at the view that you want to be looking at. It can take a bunch of clicks. Essentially, when you look at what we're doing at Conagra and where we are with our journey, we're really trying to leverage AI BI, and in particular the Genie Room concept, to give a user an alternate experience. So I can either do this, right, and click through a dashboard to get my answer, or now with the Genie, I can simply chat with my data, right? And I can ask the question in natural language and get a response. So in many ways, we're starting simple. It's about, again, the reuse. So let's start by reusing that data product that we already built, right? We can put a Genie on top of that. That's not that much additional effort, right, to do. And we can really, reuse that data product and give the user that alternate experience, right? So if we have somebody who really loves to chat with the data, now we can give them that. So the Genie is a really powerful tool. It's awesome. We have been experimenting with it over the past year or so. Before I really dive into the content on this screen, I want to make a key point, and that's the fact that when you're developing an AI BI solution, if you bring your business stakeholders along with you in the right way, that can save you a tremendous amount of time. It can be a great experience, right? You can develop these things quickly and well. And so that's really what I want to highlight here. So when we first, started out, like I said, we have multiple LLM platforms, right, at Conagra. People had started experimenting, right? So they had gone out to ChatGPT and experimented and can it answer my question? When we pitched the Genie, we're really pitching a couple things, right? So for us, when we deploy a solution, we want to make sure that it's consistent, that it's safe, and that it's valuable for the user. And the Genie has several really cool tools that allow us to do that. So as you can see here on the screen, this is a sample question. This is related to manufacturing data. So this is around yield loss, right, and minimizing waste in the manufacturing process. So the Genie does some really cool, intuitive things when you ask it a question, right? Not only is it going to give you, the numeric output, but it will also attempt to visualize things on a graph. One of the super cool features about the Genie is it will learn and respect individual user preference, right? So if I tell it every time I see this graph, I want to have the axes inverted, right? So I want to see the product number, the material description, always on the x-axis. I can tell it that, and it will do that, consistently. However, there are other things, right, that it may not do so well. And so that's where the training, right, and the process comes in, and that's what we are really, really concerned with as a team, right? How do we deploy this, but once we launch it, how do we make sure that it's actually consistent and that it's doing what our users, need it to do? And that's where I really, again, want to highlight the role that your users, your SMEs play in this. So when we initially set out to launch a Genie Room, we worked very closely with one of our partners at Databricks who was incredibly helpful. Big shout out to Sid. I don't think he's in the room right now, but Sid is amazing. One of the recommendations that he shared with us is roll it out to a core group of users and start small. So that's one of the things that we've done at Conagra is let's start small, start with the core SMEs, right, who really, really know this data. We know that when you launch a Genie Room, it's not going to be perfect right away, right? You will have issues. It will get questions wrong. It's about, okay, how do we manage through that process? So what we have done is we've started out by launching it to a core group of SMEs. We're very, very specific about, okay, this is a beta test product, right? So when you create the Genie, you can put in the description of the Genie exactly what it is, right? That's the first thing that shows up. That's what the user sees when they log in. So we're saying this is a beta test. And we always want to remind our users too, again, this is an LLM solution. Like any LLM solution, it will learn from and evolve over time based on user inputs and user responses. So we always, when we talk to our users, we're reminding them, you are a super critical part of this. You are helping to evolve this solution, right? Your input matters. And so essentially what we're trying to do is to get a core group of subject matter experts to pump the Genie full of the subject matter expertise, right? So what are the questions that you care about? Go and ask those. Let's see which ones it gets right. Let's see which ones it gets wrong, and then we can adjust from there. So that's really, really the intent, right? And it really doesn't make sense for our team, for example, being more on the technical side to sit around and scratch our heads and wonder, what are the questions that really matter to the business? It's let's just turn this over to them, right? Again, we're very clear that this is a beta test. Make sure that users know what it is, but they can, again, if you're doing it in the right way, you can get all of that subject matter expertise pumped through the tool. You can see how it performs, and that is super effective. So I mentioned earlier, the concept of as you're rolling out the Genie, you really want to focus on the instructions, and you want to focus on benchmarks. So with the Databricks platform and with the Genie in particular, you can insert up to 100 individual instructions. So there is plain text, right? So you get a block where you can provide plain text. That counts as one. And then essentially you get 99 additional instructions that you can insert in the form of a SQL query. So it may sound daunting, right? I've got to go write 50 SQL queries and upload those to the Genie. But that's actually not the reality if you're leveraging your business partners effectively. Because like we said, when we turn on the Genie and allow people to ask questions, we can see every question that was asked, right? That shows up in the monitoring log. And we can see also whether the user told us if it was correct, incorrect, or they can even give a very detailed description of what needs to change, right? So that's very important when you go and launch a solution like the Genie, is just communicating to your users, what are we asking you to really do? So again, when we put a Genie Room out, we're asking our users to give us as much feedback as they possibly can. So we'll explain to them, if you got the correct answer, click yes, it was correct. If I didn't get the correct answer, click fix it, right? And when you click fix it, you can actually continue to prompt it, and it might actually adapt to what you're looking for. If there's something really, really wrong that you need us to look at, click the request review, right? And it's letting the users know, because again, not all of the tools in this space do this. The Genie Room is awesome in the fact that it does, we want to let our users know if you click the request review and you give us detailed comments, that is coming to a real team at Conagra. We're looking at that. We're actually doing something with that. We're going to action that to make the tool better, right? It's not going into a black box, right? There is a team that is doing something with that feedback, and that is a really critical thing about the Genie that we love. So like I said, to summarize, the Genie is an amazing tool. It gives us the opportunity to reuse the data products that we've already built as an organization, right, to provide that additional user experience of, hey, now I can chat with my data. It has all of the governance and security that's provided, through Unity Catalog, right, the standard for the Databricks platform. And then we can also, do very simple things, right? We talked about benchmarks, we talked about instructions, even simple things like metadata tagging, right? If you go through and you tag your data assets, that can be critical to improving the performance of the Genie. And then finally, we love the transparent SQL, right? So every time the Genie answers a question, it's writing SQL. We can view all of the responses. We can look at that SQL, right, to see exactly what was done, what pattern is it following, et cetera. So in addition to the Genie room, at Conagra, we're also leveraging the Databricks platform to do several different things. So we also wanted to highlight MLflow today. So MLflow has been a really cool tool, out of the box, very easy to use, right, and helping us to do exploratory data analysis, or EDA. So you can see some examples up on the screen. We've got a parallelogram. You're seeing a distribution, some different things. All of this to highlight the Databricks platform makes it really, really easy to work with a data set that you have never seen before. And so we're actually trying to take some of these same tools, right, that you see here that we can run an MLflow and apply those to a manufacturing plant setting, right? So we've got some folks in the business that are saying, wouldn't it be great if I could just run, a simple linear regression and understand my feature importance given some data sets that I pulled off of equipment on my manufacturing line that I've never dealt with before. And so again, really, really cool features. It makes it very, very fast to get to insights. And it's all available, again, natively on the Databricks platform. This is another tool that we really love. So again, just to recap, it's again, right, the reusability, right? So any of these data products that we've built, right, where we've got a Power BI dashboard, or where we've got potentially a Genie room, we can expose those exact same data products to MLflow, right? And we can start to do EDA. We can start to look at those with a data science lens, and that's all available on platform. Again, all of the security through Unity Catalog is all the same. So we know exactly where our data is, who has access to it. That's very important. And then as we start to develop, these different models and experiments, there is a defined and very clear life cycle, right? And it really helps with, ML ops. And so basically, it's very easy for us to create a notebook, and we can rerun that same notebook a month from now, 2 months, 2 years from now, right, to see if something has shifted, right? Has there been drift? Do we need to, potentially look at retraining the model? All of those things. It's very easy to do that on the platform. So the final thing that I'll talk about today is, Heather mentioned the concept of data democracy. right? And we really want data to be accessible to all throughout our organization. Again, we've got a very small team. So how do we do that? We have launched a citizen developer program. So we're actually right in the middle of standing that up, getting it launched for folks. And we are super excited. And we're using the Databricks platform to help us do that. So again, we've got a great team, but our resources are not unlimited. So how do we scale, right? How do we get others to be able to create the same products, right, with the same amount of rigor, the same guardrails? And so we are doing that through a citizen developer program. Effectively, this is another opportunity for us to reuse data products, right? So a data product that we built a year ago, right, that feeds a Power BI dashboard, maybe somebody needs 2 or 3 enhancements to that. If somebody has SQL experience and can come in and can follow the same guardrails, right, and processes that we would as a team, potentially they're able to come in and modify that, right, in order to fulfill that request. So, it's an opportunity to reuse a lot of the foundation that we've already built, and it's really about data democracy and recognizing that we can't do it all, right? So again, the Databricks platform and everything that we have in Unity Catalog is a super powerful tool to be able to do that within the organization. So with that, we will go ahead and wrap up our presentation. If you're interested in learning more about any of our brands or more about Conagra as a company, please visit us at conagra.com. We've got many iconic brands as well as some emerging brands that you may not be familiar with. So invite people to check us out. And then we would also invite folks to please complete the survey, right? You'll get a survey through Databricks on the content. Feedback is incredibly valuable, so please let us know what you thought. And with that, we will open it up to Q&A.